Welcome to Mission Majjhima, Ajahn.
Ajahn.
So tell us about the Cūḻataṇhāsaṅkhaya Sutta, Majjhima number 37.
So the shorter discourse on the cessation of craving is a really fun sutta. I'd forgotten how much I love this discourse. And it begins, it's very colorful, with Saka, the king of the gods. He's the king of the realm of 33, which is a realm of heaven in Buddhist cosmology, pretty much exactly equivalent to the realm of the Olympic gods in Greek mythology. So Saka is the equivalent of Zeus or of Indra in Vedic mythology. And he has he's a lightning god, basically. And that equivalency is something that could be spoken about more, and it's fascinating. But Saka is also interested in the Dhamma, and in Digha Nikaya 21, the questions of Saka, the Buddha, and that occurs before the sutta, the Buddha instructs Saka on various points of Dhamma, and Saka actually attains stream entry, so a vision of Dhamma. In this sutta, he comes back to the Buddha and asks for a teaching, and the Buddha gives him this brief but beautiful instruction. He says, there is the case where one has heard all things are unworthy of attachment. Sabbe dhammang nalang abhinivesaya. Having heard that all things are unworthy of attachment, one fully knows all things. Having fully known all things, one fully comprehends all things. Then whatever one experiences, pleasant pain or pleasant, painful, or neutral feeling, one remains focused on inconstancy, dispassion, cessation, relinquishment with regards to that feeling. And then one is unbound. And it's this unbelievably simple but amazing teaching where he's basically bringing all the variegation of the world down to just, this is how you know the most essential core of it, which is that it's unworthy of tying your heart to. And what a relevant teaching for a man who has everything, Saka, who has this extremely refined existence. And Saka appreciates the teaching, rejoices, and then goes up to heaven to, be back in his realm. Mahamogalana, who's foremost in psychic powers, is listening nearby and asks himself, I wonder if that spirit understood what the Buddha said. And he interestingly refers to Saka here as a yaka, which is sort of, it's not derogatory, but it's not referring to him as a deva. It's more like, I wonder if that, it's a bit more coarse, which is interesting. So he goes up to heaven and approaches Saka and basically says, what did the Buddha teach you? And Saka kind of gives this prevaricating thing. He's like, basically says, I remembered it. Let me show you around my palace. And so he goes around. It's this kind of hilarious scene where Saka's kind of showing him the pleasure gardens. And Mahamogalana, he's being very polite. He's saying, oh, that's very pretty. That's very beautiful, Saka. These are the good results of past action. And it's sort of like a very skillful house guest saying, he's appreciating Saka's little thing, but he's also saying, that's the result of past action. What are you doing now? Kind of motioning to that. And it's interesting because in the suttas, the Buddha does say that when gods fall, when devas fall, most of them are reborn in the lower realms as animals and ghosts. Their merit is exhausted. He says a fortunate rebirth for a god is a human rebirth. So that issue of their merit being exhausted is very real. Basically, after getting this tour, this sort of, interesting vignette, Mahamogalana touches the palace, Saka's palace, with his toe and makes it all tremble and shake. And Saka is chastised, and then Mahamogalana asks again, so what did the Buddha teach you? And Saka, chastised, actually gives almost a verbatim summary of what the Buddha said, saying, okay, I get it. And then Venerable Mahamogalana comes back to the human realm, kind of relates to the Buddha, and the teaching is related one more time for the sake of all us listening, basically, or the other bhikkhus. So, colorful, fascinating, fun sutta. I love this one. Ajahn, what did you find interesting in this sutta?
Yeah, no, it's very fun. But just before all the fun, just the heart of the teaching right at the beginning that you drew out a little bit, I think is also great to look at. And it actually has direct correlates in other really important suttas. So the main teaching that one hears that sabbe dhamma nalang abhinivesaya, nothing is worthy clinging to, is taught to Mahamogalana in the very well-known sutta on nodding, or when Mahamogalana is falling asleep in this cave, and then the Buddha comes to him and basically gives him various tips for not falling asleep. And then right at the end of that, Mahamogalana asks the exact same question that Sakka asks, and the Buddha gives the same answer. So that's one, this relationship between Mahamogalana and this teaching. So here Mahamogalana is already enlightened, and but at that time, when the Buddha gives him the teachings, he's not yet enlightened. But the Buddha says, nothing is worthy adhering to. All dhammas are not worthy of clinging to. And then the Buddha says, when one hears that, one directly knows all things, abhijanati. When one directly knows, one fully understands, parijanati, just this increasing depth of jnana. And then fully understanding everything, then one abides contemplating anicca, or impermanence, viraga, or dispassion, nirodha, cessation, and patinissagga, relinquishment. And this is, people might recognize, the last 4 of the Anapanasati, 16 steps. So one breathes in and breathes out, knowing impermanence, breathes in and breathes out, knowing viraga, dispassion, cessation, and relinquishment. So we can all train in this. This isn't just, we don't have to be Mahamogalana, we don't have to be Saka, King of the Gods. All of us can breathe in just with our very next breath, contemplating, seeing deeply, anupassana, seeing anicca anupassana, seeing impermanence, dispassion, cessation, and relinquishment. And then from that, when one abides in that way, then one doesn't cling to anything in the world. Not clinging, one is not agitated. Not agitated, one attains nibbana. So it's just a very practical teaching that we can do in this very breath right now. So
that's great, Ajahn.
Yeah. And yourself, Ajahn, anything else to pull out from the sutta?
I think fleshing out those 4 steps you spoke of, where one contemplates impermanence, and I've heard this spoken about as watching water under a bridge, and then one contemplates viraga, dispassion, and that's a bit like going to the other side of the bridge and watching the water leaving from under the bridge, going away, because we don't give attention to endings, and we have to become less enamored with the beginnings before we can actually really observe the endings, which is the next step, cessation. So watching the water go, 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 go. And that's only when we really see the endings of the things that we've become so fixated on the beginnings of. Only when we really intuit that can we let them go, because we understand the full scope of what they are. Everything that comes falls away. And I just think it's relevant for us who live a very deva-like existence in so many ways. I mean, there's another sutta where it says that when the Buddha comes to a heaven realm, all the devas shake and tremble and say, we thought we were permanent, but we are impermanent. And middle class, upper middle class existence in the US or elsewhere could be looked at as these same contemplations being equally relevant, and just the power and precision of that teaching. So what else would you have for us, Ajahn? What else would you draw out?
Yeah, I think just you started drawing out this relationship between the way that Saka lives and the way that many middle-class Americans, and even the conveniences of so much of modern life for so many is just so equivalent to heaven, in this kind of heavenly distraction inertia, or this palace-induced amnesia. You get in this kind of ego bubble, and it's so easy to just not pay attention to the slight sufferings that really, even if we're not experiencing them, I mean, even if this word dukkha, the Four Noble Truths, the heart of the Four Noble Truths, that life is suffering, you mention that to so many modern people, and it just doesn't hit home, because I don't experience any suffering, but the Mahamogalana pointing out that it's all, just with a little toe tap, you can make the whole palace tremble. And it really is like, just the next earthquake could totally, the next tsunami, the next forest fire. These are all really real environmental catastrophes, which can just upend our seeming heavenly existences in the next moment. And yeah, it's all just waiting there underneath the ground. So being heedful. Ajahn, so what is the word of the week?
The word of the week is abhinivesa, which means fixation, sticking to adherence, and it comes from the root vis, which means to enter.
All right. Well, you've heard it here, everybody. Don't cling. And we'll see you if you're here on the first Sunday at Zoom. And if not, then we'll see you next week for Mission Majjhima number 39.
38.
38.
All right.